Hello, friends. Today we are talking about a disaster that changed Venezuela in just a few seconds. A disaster that began with the ground shaking, but quickly became a desperate fight to save lives, find missing family members, treat the injured, and protect thousands of people who suddenly had nowhere safe to sleep. On June 24, 2026, Venezuela was struck by two powerful earthquakes only 39 seconds apart. The first measured magnitude 7.2, and before people could understand what was happening, a stronger magnitude 7.5 earthquake struck. Imagine being inside your home, hearing the walls crack, seeing furniture fall, losing electricity, and then feeling another, even stronger shock before you can reach the door. That is what happened to countless families in Venezuela. Please watch this video until the end, because we will explain what happened, where the damage was worst, how many people have been affected, why rescue teams are racing against time, and what the world is doing to help. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for verified international updates, because during a disaster like this, facts matter more than rumors. The earthquakes struck near Yumare in northwestern Venezuela, and the shaking was felt across a much wider area, including Caracas and the northern coast. The United States Geological Survey described the 7.2 earthquake as the first event in a doublet, followed just 39 seconds later by the stronger 7.5 main earthquake. These were not small tremors. They were major earthquakes capable of causing violent shaking, damaging buildings, breaking roads, cutting power, and trapping people under rubble. The hardest hit area was La Guaira state, the coastal region north of Caracas. This area became the center of the rescue emergency. Buildings collapsed into piles of concrete, dust, metal, broken glass, and shattered household belongings. In many cases, families had no time to collect documents, medicines, money, clothes, or food. They ran outside with nothing but what they were wearing. Some people spent the night in open areas because they were terrified that damaged buildings could collapse during aftershocks. The latest reported official figures, current as of June 29th, say at least 1,450 people have been confirmed dead. More than 3,150 people have been injured. At least 12,721 people have been displaced from their homes, and 774 buildings have collapsed. These are not just statistics. Every number represents a person, a family, a home, a workplace, a classroom, or a life suddenly turned upside down. One of the most important things to understand is the difference between confirmed deaths and people listed as unaccounted for. You may have seen the number of nearly 50,000 people being mentioned online. That does not mean 50,000 people have been confirmed dead. It means a large number of people were still unaccounted for on a list promoted by opposition groups. Some may be trapped, injured, staying in shelters, unable to use their phones, separated from relatives, or simply not yet recorded properly by authorities. The list can change as people make contact, enter hospitals, reach shelters, or are found by rescue teams. It is a serious and painful number, but it must not be described as a confirmed death toll. For families, however, the difference between missing, unaccounted for, and confirmed safe can feel unbearable. A mother may be calling her son again and again with no answer. A father may be standing outside a collapsed building, waiting for rescue workers to call out a name. A child may be asking where their parents are. A phone ringing with no reply becomes frightening. A message received hours later can feel like a miracle. This is the human side of an earthquake disaster that numbers alone cannot explain. Rescue teams are now working in a race against time. The first 72 hours after a major earthquake are often considered the most critical period for finding survivors under collapsed buildings. After that point, the chances of survival can fall sharply because trapped people may have no water, no food, serious injuries, limited air, and dangerous conditions around them. But even after several days, rescue teams continue to find signs of life in Venezuela. That gave families hope and kept rescue operations moving forward. One of the most emotional rescue stories came when a father and his son were pulled alive from the rubble of a collapsed building in La Guaira 4 days after the earthquakes. Rescue workers spent about 12 hours carefully reaching them through unstable debris. They used specialized search cameras and worked slowly because one wrong movement could cause more rubble to collapse. The two survivors were weak and needed urgent medical care, but they were alive. Their rescue showed why teams keep searching even when the chances become smaller with every passing hour. Before that, rescue workers also saved a mother and her 9-month-old baby from the rubble. Officials said at least 33 people had been rescued over the weekend, including several children. These are moments of hope in a tragedy filled with grief. But every rescue is difficult. Workers must first identify signs of life. Then they must make sure they do not accidentally bring down unstable concrete slabs, damaged walls, or broken floors. They need doctors nearby, stretchers ready, water and medicine available, and a safe path to move survivors out. The rescue effort has not been easy. Venezuela has experienced hundreds of aftershocks since the main earthquakes. These aftershocks can make already damaged buildings more dangerous. They can frighten people who are sleeping outside. They can interrupt rescue work. They can cause cracks in roads to widen and make it harder for emergency vehicles to reach the worst-hit areas. Rescue teams have to protect themselves while trying to save others. They are entering unstable spaces where every minute can be dangerous. The scale of the disaster also created serious pressure on hospitals and emergency services. Thousands of injured people needed treatment at the same time. Some had broken bones, cuts, crush injuries, breathing problems, dehydration, and trauma. Hospitals had to handle patients while also dealing with disrupted electricity and transport problems. In an earthquake disaster, healthcare workers are not only treating physical injuries, they are also helping people who are in shock, children who are terrified, and families who have lost everything. Power outages made the situation even harder. La Guaira's electricity supply was gradually restored to around 75%, but many communities continued to face uncertainty. When power is lost after an earthquake, it affects everything. Mobile phones cannot be charged. People cannot contact relatives. Hospitals rely on emergency generators. Traffic lights stop working. Water systems can be disrupted. Food can spoil. Shops may not be able to open, and emergency workers may struggle to communicate with each other. The damage also affected important infrastructure and industry. Venezuela's large Amué refinery shut down after a major power outage in Falcon State. Although this may sound separate from the human disaster, it matters, because fuel, transport, electricity, and supply chains are all connected during an emergency. When large infrastructure systems are disrupted, it can become harder to move food, water, medical equipment, rescue tools, and people who need urgent help. Authorities suspended school classes for another week as building safety checks continued. This is an important step because children cannot simply return to schools until engineers are sure the structures are safe. A damaged building may look normal from the outside, but have serious cracks in columns, floors, staircases, or foundations. Safety inspections will decide which buildings can be repaired, which must remain closed, and which may have to be demolished. Thousands of displaced people now need shelter. Being displaced does not only mean losing a building, it means losing routine, privacy, security, and the comfort of home. Families may be staying in shelters, with relatives, in temporary camps, or in open spaces. They need clean drinking water, food, toilets, blankets, medicines, hygiene supplies, baby products, and safe places for children. They also need information. They need to know where their relatives are, when they can return home, whether their building is safe, and what support will be available. For older people, the situation can be especially difficult. Many elderly survivors depend on daily medicines, medical equipment, regular care, or assistance from relatives. A sudden evacuation can separate them from medication, identification papers, glasses, walking aids, and important medical records. For babies and young children, families need milk, clean water, nappies, warm clothing, and a safe place to sleep. For pregnant women, people with disabilities, and those with chronic illnesses, the disaster can create additional risks that are not always visible in television footage. International rescue teams have arrived to support Venezuela. More than 2,600 foreign rescue workers were reported to have joined the response. These teams bring search dogs, scanners, rescue cameras, medical equipment, structural experts, and trained specialists who know how to work around collapsed buildings. International responders are helping local volunteers, firefighters, doctors, soldiers, and community members. But it is important to remember that some of the earliest rescue work was done by ordinary people. Neighbors, friends, relatives, shopkeepers, drivers, and local volunteers began digging through rubble before many large teams arrived. In disasters, people often become rescuers because they cannot stand by and do nothing. They use their hands, shovels, metal bars, ropes, and whatever tools they can find. Some look for loved ones, others help strangers. That human solidarity can be powerful, especially in the first hours when every minute matters. The international reaction has included messages of support, rescue assistance, and financial aid. Pope Leo expressed closeness to the Venezuelan people affected by the earthquakes and thanked rescue workers for their efforts. The United States had already pledged $150 million in support, with officials expecting additional aid to be announced. International assistance can help with emergency shelter, medical care, clean water, food distribution, search and rescue operations, and rebuilding in the months ahead. However, the most difficult phase may begin after the rescue headlines fade. Finding survivors is urgent today, but recovery can take years. Damaged homes must be inspected. Collapsed buildings must be cleared safely. Roads and electricity lines must be repaired. Businesses need to reopen. Children need to return to school. Hospitals need supplies. Families who have lost homes need somewhere permanent to live. People who lost loved ones will need time, support, and space to grieve. There are also emotional wounds that may last long after buildings are rebuilt. Many people who survive earthquakes experience fear whenever they feel a small vibration. They may struggle to sleep indoors. They may panic when a truck passes outside, when a door slams, or when an aftershock begins. Children may become afraid to leave their parents. Adults may feel guilty for surviving when neighbors did not. This is why mental health support is as important as food, water, and shelter in the weeks after a major disaster. The Venezuela earthquake disaster also shows why accurate information is so important. During emergencies, social media can be filled with old videos, fake casualty numbers, edited clips, and dramatic claims that have not been confirmed. A video from another country can be shared as if it happened in Venezuela. A damaged airport can be described as destroyed without evidence. A changing list of unaccounted people can be falsely presented as a confirmed death toll. These claims can create fear and confusion for families already going through the worst moment of their lives. The most responsible thing people can do is share information from trusted sources, wait for confirmation, and avoid spreading dramatic claims simply because they attract attention. The truth is already serious enough. At least 1,450 people have died. Thousands are injured. More than 12,000 have been displaced. Hundreds of buildings have collapsed. Tens of thousands of people are still unaccounted for on a changing list. Rescue workers are still searching. Families are still waiting. This disaster reminds us that earthquakes do not care about wealth, politics, age, or status. In seconds, a normal day can become a survival story. A home can become rubble. A road can become blocked. A family dinner can become a desperate search. But it also reminds us of something powerful. Even in the darkest moments, people come together. Rescue workers keep digging. Doctors keep treating. Volunteers keep carrying supplies. Strangers help strangers. Families hold on to hope. For Venezuela, the immediate priority remains clear. Save as many lives as possible. Find the missing. Support the injured, protect displaced families, and prevent further deaths from unsafe buildings and aftershocks. After that will come the long road to recovery. The world will be watching not only how quickly rescue teams work, but also whether the affected families receive enough help to rebuild their lives. Let us keep the people of Venezuela in our thoughts and prayers. Let us remember the rescue workers who are risking their own lives in unstable buildings. Let us remember the doctors, volunteers, drivers, and local families helping in every way they can. And above all, let us remember that behind every number is a human being with a name, a family, and a story. Please subscribe, turn on the bell notification, and share this video so verified information can reach more people. We will continue following the Venezuela earthquake disaster and bring you updates as rescue operations and official figures change.